We're a group of Gen Xers learning about our ADHD and neurodiversity later in life. Join us as we discuss interesting clips we find online and how they relate to our own life experiences. Welcome to This Is How My Brain Works. All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of This Is How My Brain Works. Jason there, Rudy in the bottom, Krista Gano, and I'm Michael Collins. Sarah is out on assignment. She won't be joining us today, but we have another clip for you here. I found this, and there's you hear lots of talk about neurodiverse and neurotypical, and it's like, well, what's really the difference? How does it show up in everyday life? How does it show up at work? This is an example of how it could show up at work. It's a funny clip, but I think it's one that we can get into a fun discussion about. So do the old sharing.
How people with ADHD see people without ADHD, part 2. Oh, hey, so I got an early start on that thing you asked me to do and just finished it up. This wasn't due till next month. I know. I knew it was important, so I moved some things around so I could get it to you quickly. Does it look okay? Yeah. So you have an extraordinary gift. Your parents must be very proud. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on.
All right. Well, I just he's got a lot of fun videos that he puts out. That is at Life Actuator, and we'll put that in the show notes so you can go watch some of his other clips on Instagram. But I just thought that was very interesting, and for a couple reasons. One, it's just like, yeah, it's really what drives the ADHD, or and for me, it's typically deadlines. I can't really start thinking until like a hard deadline is coming up, and then I can lock in and focus and start doing what I need to do. So to hand something in early is very, very foreign concept for me. And I think his look of just befuddlement at someone at his the person on his team handing him this report early, like, and just I didn't think that this could be a thing. He could actually hand something in early, but it really this is one of the tricky parts of ADHD for me is really like how to stay on task, or how to approach a project in a way that is where you're not just cramming it all in at the end.
There's a great creator, and we've talked about her before, and right now I cannot for life remember, but she's on TikTok, and she had this one thing where it was like February, and she's like, so the Easter stuff just came out, and so I'm doing Easter baskets now. Now you might say to me, why are you doing it now? And she's like, there's only 2 times I do things as an ADHDer. It's either immediately when the stuff hits the store and it feels new, or it's at midnight before it's due the night before. She's like, there's nothing that happens in the middle. It's one of the two. So and I think that, because I'm definitely that, like if someone says, hey, do something creative, and I'm literally like, oh my gosh, I can do something creative tonight. It's not due for 3 months, but I'll do it all tonight, because I get hyper focused, or it runs off my list. And I'm literally like, oh, well, I guess that will be done on the conveyor belt, which is how I describe my brain to people when they're working with me. I always say, you have a spot on my conveyor belt, and my conveyor belt means that your spot's not going to come up until the deadline. So don't expect it before then, because you have a spot on the conveyor belt. And that way, when people ask me something, I'll go, it's not your turn on the conveyor belt. I don't know the answer to your question.
That's pretty funny.
So
I like that way of kind of managing the expectations, or just communicate, because you're really you're talking about like this is how I operate, but you're setting expectations. I think that's rather
Right.
than getting flustered about like I don't know when it's going to get done, you know, and feeling like overwhelmed about the fact that because for me, I'll marinate on something for a long time. Oh, how am I going to approach this? How am I going to do it? What resources do I need to do? What are the steps that I need? And it's really like because with the ADHD brain, I think you're kind of reinventing the wheel every time. You're not locking into some process that you've kind of is just like riding a bike, unless you're just doing it every day.
No, because that's no fun.
Right. There's
No
you don't get
fun.
the dopamine. So yeah, like so I'll analysis paralysis pretty good. I will I'll overthink things. I will
That's why you got to wait till last minute so you stop overthinking things.
right. That's I think whether you consciously or subconsciously um are doing it, that's really what's happening. You know, you are forcing you're painting yourself into a corner. And because I'm like, yeah, I never really doubt my ability to come up with something, but that doesn't mean it's without a lot of anxiety. Like I'll create, I'll be anxious about something and how it's all going to do it and how it's all going to work. And at the end of the day, I know I'm going to be able to like produce something. And a lot of times it's like, oh, that worked out pretty well. But you're in this state of being that is stressful. And I'm not at ease like, oh yeah, it's all good. Something's gonna pop in. It's like I'm like, okay, well, how is it? Okay, if there's this option, there's this option, there's this option, this scenario. I could bring this in. Oh, I'm gonna need to get this, and this. And now I'm off running errands, like driving like a bat out of hell to get everything for the event or whatever it is. And there is an excitement to it. It's like this is kind of
There's something,
exciting.
yeah, you got to wait. Sometimes you just have to wait for the dopamine hit. Like it's
Yeah,
I've
And
got
a
3
sense of
hours.
accomplishment.
Yeah.
yeah.
And a sense of accomplishment. But how often do you think to yourself, if I had used that time a little more wisely, that the
Yeah.
end product would have been just
Better.
a little better,
If I
right?
could have
Like,
procured these items
Well,
before, and not to mention,
I
like
wouldn't be rushing now.
if you're on a team of people, or if this is happening,
that's why we don't like teams.
right? Yeah, it's because I'm on a team. I've said this before. It's like, what can I do? What can I do? It's like I don't know. I don't know what you can do. I am making this up as I go. I don't know what to delegate because I don't know what to delegate.
Right.
Well, here's my dark secret. And I about this is that I am also the culprit of no, that's going to take too much. No, that's going to take too much. No, I can't tackle that. And then it sits like, oh, I don't, that administrative task feels so like rough. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Oh, the glass that was broken in the door downstairs when the kids were 3 years old, it's going to take too much to replace. Just put a piece of wood over it. It's like, it'll be fine. Like, and then you finally are to the point where you're like, I just heard this story actually from somebody. He said they had this thing that happened in one of their basement windows, and for years and years and years, they did not fix it. And then they were about to sell 15 years, or no, 5 years maybe. And then they were about to sell the house, and they had to fix it to bring it up to code. And the fix was $12 and took him 30 minutes.
Oh my
And he had been fretting about it for 5 years. And I saw myself in that, whether it's an administrative task that I just don't want to do. Like right now, I'm trying to change car insurance companies. Man, I just want to blow my brains out on this one because it's just like or whether it's like the fact that there's something broken in the house. We have a spot in our house in the kids' bathroom that literally we put a teeny hole in the wall when we moved here 17 years ago. It's still there. It's still there. I mean, we put a trash can in front of it. So,
Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind.
But I mean, and so that is like one of the things that I don't like about my ADHD, the ADHD part of my puzzle is I think all of the time, like I really, I envy the people who seem to roll through those things easily. that they're like, there was something wrong in my house and I just fixed it. Yes, like by the next day.
I
just
found the time.
like
I
I don't
knew how to
understand.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, or I just called someone and they came over and they did it, and I'm just sort of like that. I actually have envy about that, and I wonder how many people really do live that way, and I think it's a lot more than I think because
Well,
I
like
don't.
this guy in the video who was looking at the neurotypical who hands him in the report, just yeah, with that awe, like
Yeah,
how is that possible? Like you brilliant, must be a brilliant, your parents must be very proud. Like and I think about um when I'm reflecting and kind of probably beat myself up a little bit, it's like how did these people know to find this path or to do it this
Right.
way? And look how far
Right.
ahead they are now.
Right.
yeah.
How
How'd
did
they figure
they
that
how
out?
did they know that that's the road to take not the steps
And
to
how
take
did
or
they
the
not
strategy?
have anxiety about it? Like, how do they not sit and go like, okay, well, I can get that piece of admin out that thing that I've got, but I want to make sure I'm accurate. So I need to make sure I check 3 other sites because I need to say, like, I also think that there's this like sense of ease with neurotypicals that they're just sort of like, I don't know, I'm just going to say it and we're just going to see what happens. Whereas on the spectrum, for me, it is so important that what I say is accurate. I definitely have that justice
Yep.
piece of the puzzle where it's like, no, I need to be accurate, I need to be fair, I need to be diplomatic, and I need to, it's like and so the voices in my head before things go out are, I feel like there are people who are just like effortlessly like doing something and it just goes out in the world and you just don't care. I just,
Yeah, it's like
I envy it. I
it's
envy
like
it.
the instructions say do this and this and here's the output and that's all I need to do. Whereas we're thinking about like, well, who put this manual together? And like does this
Did they
serve
think of
all of
this?
yeah,
Did
does
they
this
think of
serve
this?
do they think this way about it? Do they think that way about it? And does this work in all conditions? I mean, yeah, so there is I don't know what you call it. I mean, you could say it's worry or anticipation or yeah, the justice, that's an interesting one too. Like I want to make sure that this is good for everyone, so you're really bringing a lot of these elements into it. And I'm wondering like, does that will the other person appreciate that or
I just feel like they have a way to walk through the world that they just sort of like walk. We're just going to walk through the world. I'm just neurotypical. I'm just going to walk through the world. Whereas I feel like I have a bungee around my waist that is attached to something behind me. And
yeah.
it's just taking me a little bit of extra, like to get, and then it yanks back a little bit. And I'm like, oh, it's all right. I got to get that started again. I guess I want to rest a minute because that was a lot. And then I work it up, the executive function piece, I am finding, I think people have a perception of me that that I have great executive function. And I do in areas of passion,
Sure.
100%. And
Yeah.
in areas of no passion, I do not have it at all.
It's torture. Yeah.
It's torture.
Yeah, our ability to kind of like I've had it on multiple occasions with jobs where it's like can't work here anymore and I'm gone that day because I'll go in and talk to my manager like this really isn't work like well let's go ahead and can I get your badge and let's go ahead and escort you out. I'm like wow that happened quickly. I should have had a plan. What am I I guess I can go get lunch somewhere now. I mean, this is like there's no plan. It's just like I can't do this one more day,
Yeah.
and then I'm done. And
That's
so
why we're all consultants and stuff.
yeah, the tolerance for it is just it's like once it hits, it's like it's physically impossible. I'm that I'm just wondering like also just like what's going on in our brains, versus the neurotypical brain where it just is more like methodical maybe or like what Krista, you mentioned some other word, I think. I'm just totally like
Executive function.
yeah, the executive function piece. Yeah, that's what it was. It was like, okay, so if our executive functioning or our short-term memory isn't as great, I think that's a part of it. I think that's part of like making some things just are inherently a little more difficult for us. So we don't get those kind of that repeatable experience of, yeah, the person said this and I did this, rather than like, what did they say again? And what was the context of it? And what was
Well, and the ramp up, ramp down is different too. So it's sort of like, I got to do that really important meeting. That means I've got to prep for the meeting because I got to be in the right mindset for the meeting, which means, oh, now I shouldn't do anything else for the rest of the day.
Right, right. I
Because
gotta
it's the
get it
one
early because
thing.
I've got to put some things together.
It's the one
But
thing I'm going to
listen, we're just passionate about things we're interested in.
Yeah.
We're not passionate about things we don't care about. The things we love and we're really passionate and make us feel good, we'll run to. But
and
other
work
things-
16 hours without stopping, like literally, like
totally, I do it all day long, right?
all day.
But there are other things where you're like, we have a tree outside, half of it's dead. Last year, I'm talking 14, 15 months ago, called the city. They came out with an estimate. But then we've been trying to get estimates. I mean, tree services, it is what it is. But they sent a list of all their accredited tree service people. It's emails, phone numbers. It's 5 pages long.
Oh my God.
And like, I don't know, tree service, I don't know where they're located. Are they close to me? Like the whole thing.
That's so overwhelming.
And it's been 14 months and Lisa's like, you know what you could do today? Maybe you could call a tree service and get an estimate. And I was like, you know what? That's a great idea. Like, I need her to tell me, like, when I come home from work, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to do. She's like, well, maybe you could do this. So you know what I did? And this is, for me, it was heaven. I said, I heard from a friend, he said, oh, try J&J, whatever, some 2 letters. I find it on the list. I email them. And, within 10 minutes, it's never happened before with anyone I've tried to, I got a response. Hey, we'll be there early next week. Let me know where the tree is. I'll check it out. I'll give you an estimate. Like, when it happens like that, so effortlessly, and there's cooperation somehow, and like, that was easy. Then it's like you were talking about the $12 30-minute fix.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. Like,
I haven't.
The easiest thing. I'm not going to contact anybody else. I'm going to wait to see if what this guy does next week. And he was like really quick to answer.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that was heaven. Oh my God. I was so happy. Like, I wanted to shout to the world. I got an email back immediately. They're coming.
So I have an extra layer of this that I think is on the autism side of things. And again, it's nothing I knew about myself until very recently through watching stuff. Some of us have a thing that we are oppositional to someone suggesting that we do something. So if I ask my kiddo, like if I say, we need to change the sheets on your bed, when are you ready to do that? And I let it be his choice, we're good. But if I say, you got to change sheets on your bed, I'm going to come in 15 minutes and we're going to do it, he'll be like, no, I'm busy. Absolutely not. You cannot come in. Like, and I have that, and I have recognized I have that same thing. So if Greg were to come up to me and say, hey, why don't you call one of those, like, I can feel it in myself. He'll do that sometimes. He'll go, hey, you want to tackle that letter to the mechanic we've been talking about? And I'm literally like, I did until you fucking suggested it. And now I don't want to. And it is this, what I've learned is that it is actually a trait of autism.
That is fascinating.
And there are ways to go about to help us not be jerks, I guess. But it is sort of like what you were talking about with impulsivity, when you're like, no, when it hits, I got to sort it out. This for me is real. Like, literally, I will be like, I could be 10 minutes away from writing a letter about something that I know has been on the list to do. And if Greg comes in and goes, hey, are you going to write that letter today? I'm literally like, you ruined it. Nope, absolutely not. No, I'm not writing it now. It's very weird. It's very weird. And it's my newest thing that I'm tackling in how I can and Greg will always say stuff to me like, you know, mom always wants to do things until I make the suggestion, or sometimes she's just got to warm up to things. And what I'm realizing now is that it's this trait that I now need to, now that I know it's there, I need to work on it. But I didn't know it until recently.
God, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. My response would be like this, yeah, I've got the first 2 sentences going. Okay.
My
yeah,
response is
work on
like,
it.
just send it to me in a text. Just send it to me in a text because I'm not going to remember it. You keep giving me the list of
Right.
things.
Right.
It's not going into my head. It's going, text it.
I can't stand the list. Greg
Well-
used to always, I told you guys about the list that Greg would do at the beginning of summer, and literally I would be like, none of it's gonna get done.
What a great feeling
Gonna
is
get
like
done.
when
An
you know there are
ADHDers to-do
things,
lists.
when you are things, when
realistic.
there are things to get done and you are able to cross them off the list, the sense of accomplishment is tremendous because it's hard for us to tackle lists.
If you do the
And-
list the right way, because
If you
just
do
put
the list the
5
right
things
way.
on there, a typical ADHD list will be like, well, let me just add these 45 things
Right.
and to it. And then it looks like you haven't done shit. You've crossed 3 things off, which is a pretty productive day, but you still have 42 things on your list. You're like, God damn it. Look at all the stuff I have to do.
I know the lists.
Oh my gosh.
And I have to rewrite the list because if I don't
Yes,
write it
every
nice,
week.
but even if I don't write it, like even if the first word I kind of messed up because it has to be, what kind of paper am I going to use? Is it going to be like a small college line, college rule? You know,
Where's that
like
one
a little
notebook that I
smaller-
use for my to-do things? It's in this drawer here. Oh, look at all these notebooks. I wonder
Right,
what's in this
right.
I
notebook.
should
Right.
organize
look at all
them.
these notes.
Look at
Look
this
at all
other
these
thing that I was
lists.
writing.
Good Lord. You have no idea. You have no idea.
No,
You have no idea.
no. But but I do think that I mean I have a list. I mean I've got an ongoing list that I do, but I it's interesting because it's one of the reasons why I like to get up early before anyone can talk to me.
That's a good move.
So I can get a bunch of stuff done, and those things that have been on the list, those admin things, those whatever, like if the day is right, I don't know, the planets align, all the things, I can get through a ton of them. But the moment someone comes up and goes, "Did you get through that list?" I'm like, now I'm not gonna. Thanks for screwing that up.
Let's see you get through that list.
Yeah,
See, you try to
exactly.
get
And
through
I
that
get
thing.
oppositionally defiant.
Yeah.
100%.
Krista, there's something else that I have to, that oppositionally defiant. I actually can relate to that a little bit. I mean, that the little senses kind of came up for me when you said that. There's another thing that I know this is an ADHD thing, but it's called revenge bedtime procrastination.
Oh, I have that too.
People with high stress jobs, or like revenge bedtime procrastination is a way to find a few hours of entertainment, even though it results in insufficient sleep. It's just like, don't tell me when to go to bed, or,
That's right.
It's kind of that defiance thing. It's like, and it's an internal thing. It's like, no one's telling you to go to bed.
You're an adult. It's okay.
You're an adult. It's like, but it's like for an ADHD, or sometimes the house finally gets quiet.
Mm-hmm.
No one's asking you to do anything. It's like, oh my God, I can kind of get through this thing now, and you can be productive.
Maybe I'll start building my chicken coop right now. This is a good time.
Yes, right. Yeah. Sometimes it is a little.
I'm gonna go out and like just talk to my golf clubs in the garage.
But unfortunately, what I'm noticing, and this is probably maybe due to age, but I don't have the cognitive gas tank is on empty by that time. It's like, the house. And so I'm not doing things that are necessarily productive. I'll be up watching like, what did Kevin Bacon, like I'll just watch all these clips.
What happened on Love Island?
Yeah, what happened on? And then like, oh, did you Robert Duvall on the set of Godfather? I need to know this right now.
Right now.
Like, what? Like I need to watch this clip, and then you're just kind of watching stuff, or like.
Yeah, for me it's the scroll on TikTok at that, like at 10 or 10:30 or whatever. And I have lately been pushing my sleep to 11:30, which I've always been a 10:30 to 11 girl. And lately I'm in like, I want 11:30. I want to settle in between 11:30 and midnight. But the
That's where I am.
problem is that my brain will not stay asleep. Like I will just get up at 5:45 or
Okay.
6 no matter what. So I am losing sleep because it's
Yeah.
not like, even though it's summer and we don't have kids and that we're driving places and we could sleep in, my brain just does not function that way any longer. So I really do need to walk myself back to 10:30.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So
It just seems like I have this reaction to it, like it's either punitive or it's just like go to bed, time for bed. It's like don't tell me what to do. It's that there is some defiance thing to it,
yeah.
and then, but I feel like but I'm gonna miss out. Look at all this stuff there is to like read or check out or watch or you know um and maybe it is getting some of the dopamine. The scrolling thing is interesting to me. Like, what are we waiting for? Like, what are we continuing to scroll for? It's like there's going to be that one magic post or clip or whatever. It's like, what there's going to be. What's the
don't
next
know.
one? What's the next one? What's the next one? Maybe it's the unknown. Maybe it's the unknown. It's unknown what's going to come up next, and that's enough of a dopamine
I mean,
hit to
we
like,
know it creates a dopamine hit, and I'm not necessarily proud of the time that I can spend on an FYP, but
did you get that, Rudy?
it-
FY.
Still working on it. I'm like,
on the For You page of TikTok.
Ah,
So but for example, right now, what's happening on TikTok around the election and around the changes that have happened this week, and
oh my
whenever this comes
God.
out with, I don't want to make this political, but with Kamala, Harris, just as a timestamp, in terms of when this actually gets released. This is the week that this has happened. Right now, TikTok and the FYP is really exciting. Like through the Olympics, it's going to be really exciting because so the dopamine hit comes from every normal, everyday people from around the world being able to access to share their experience. And so the Olympics stuff from athletes is super fun. And, people who are having who are organizing around Kamala Harris is really fun to see what's happening with women, coming together in this country. And so those are times that those types of things become really addictive. When nothing's happening and you're like watching, not that I don't love a good cat video, because I do, but when you're like in when you're in like cat videos and advertisements for, I don't know, steamers and shit, it's easier to turn it off. But when there's something big happening, regardless of what that is around the world, it absolutely gets harder to turn that stuff off.
Well, it does. And
and people do it too, just like channel surf. It's just a different version of channel
no,
surfing.
that's a great point. Great analogy. I think part of the scrolling for on maybe particularly with the political stuff, or maybe but you're wanting to find something to make you feel better about something. It's like you have some anxiety. It's like, I just want to read a post that makes me feel hopeful, or like someone understands me enough to, like, I don't know, comfort me.
or I don't want to think anymore. I just don't want to think anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, Lisa always says, "Can we just watch something? I don't want to think about anything anymore. Can we just watch something?"
And that's why I'm actually struggle with what's on TV right now, Rudy, because there's so much drama right now. And I'm like, can we just have a comedy? Like, can we just,
I started watching that show Sunny, and it's with and it's on Apple TV, and it is really interesting. It's like, okay, this is going to take place it's in Kyoto, Japan, so I'm fascinated with Japanese culture. It's like, okay, this is going to be really interesting. And it's Rashida Jones, who I think is gorgeous, and so it's like, oh, I'll watch this. But it's really dark. It's like AI and like personal assistant computer, like machines, robot machines and stuff. I'm like, I'm consuming this content and it's disturbing. And so like, while it checked off so many boxes, ultimately it's like, I can't keep watching this because the nature of the content is like, it's disturbing.
So here is our plug. I know this will probably go after this is already done, but the Olympics, I am sad to say that I think that Gen X might be one of the last generations that really watches the Olympics in the way that it should be watched. Like
Mary
really,
Lou Retton.
that's right. That really, like, I remember when the Olympics came, everything stopped. My parents, like, we were just as a family in front of that TV live.
Totally.
And they were saying that the younger generations don't really watch it in the same way anymore. Partially is because we don't know where the hell to find it. It's on
Usain
so
Bolt.
many channels. Yes.
Remember that? Remember
Carrie
that?
Strug. Do you remember Carrie Strug when she did the
Oh my
vault and
God,
she
that was
broke her
amazing.
ankle or foot and right there to win the gold? Come on.
Incredible.
Oh my God. So
Billy Johnson, downhill skier.
come on.
I mean,
So
you could go on and on. You're right.
we should
we
watch
watched
it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Olympics.
The Olympics is on. It's in Paris, and in terms of the, because I was actually watching the opening ceremonies live before we started, and there is a Marie Antoinette theme that I don't want to spoil, but okay, France.
No, they're doing some
Okay,
crazy
France.
things, aren't they?
There's also a love theme that I think that literally made our American commentators like not know what to say for a good long while.
Good on
It
you,
was
France.
super fun. Super fun.
What time is
So
that? 6 or 7?
I think they're doing a primetime replay of it. It's on right now, but they're
Opening
doing it
ceremonies?
live. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they're doing a primetime replay of it. So enjoy the Olympics, you guys. They're happy.
Now they know what I'm doing tonight.
They're happy.
Yeah.
They're happy. So don't scroll. Watch our athletes. And we have the largest team like ever. Like literally everybody's like,
the
here's my
US
12 people. And then
The
we're like,
progression just keeps coming.
here's 1,000 people. But they're doing they're doing it down all of the teams are on boats that they're riding down the Seine. So it's really interesting.
You know, those French, they have a flair.
You got a flare.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
So everyone stop the scrolling, forget about your executive function, and go watch the Olympics.
Okay, so there's the plug for the Olympics. Go USA. And thank you for at Life Actuator on Instagram. I found that on ADHD Doers for the clip today. Very entertaining. And join us next time where we always watch a clip and have a kind of a chin wag of a conversation afterwards. So then now I can link to Chinwag and maybe we'll get some of their viewers watching our podcast.
There we go. Yeah. You just told them the secret.
Dang it! Secret sauce or brilliant
All right.
marketing strategy. All right. For Krista and Rudy and Sarah, I'm Michael. Thanks again for watching another episode of This Is How My Brain Works.